"What you up to, Nika?" Jack asked the Kizzen quietly, as he gave up his seat on the sofa to get himself a drink and stretch his legs. He was still exhausted from not sleeping the previous day, but he resolved to hold on and go to sleep when everybody else did. He was surprised to see the pink-furred kangaroo cat girl hanging back, still watching the film, which was apparently some kind of romantic musical the mostly female audience voted on. Not too salty about the game? "Ha! Not at all," the Kizzen grinned, sliding a cold beer over to him across the kitchen counter and getting herself one. "Raising your own territory was a brilliant move I didn't see coming. It denied me the ability to raid it myself, and my upkeep was starting to bite me. I had plans to go after Chio anyway, since I figured she was near her win condition, but you were the greater threat." "It's a batshit insane game, but I'm glad we made it work," Jack grinned. "And I used to think playing Monopoly with my chicken shit aunts and uncles at Christmas was crazy. At least this was the good kind of insanity." "Scifi will be happy to hear you say that." The Kizzen nodded with a small smile. "But to answer your question, I'm just thinking." "Yeah," Jack agreed with a sigh after a long pause. "Last night?" "Partly." Nika nodded again. "What scares me the most is that we did almost everything right and we still nearly died out there. If Scifi was right about the trickster being present at the ambush itself, and I don't see any reason why she wouldn't be, then it's clear the cult of the Destroyer sought revenge and brought in some of their more powerful assets to do it, which is highly unusual." "Why?" Jack asked, taking a sip of his beer. "I would have thought that wanting revenge against a group that took out their leadership at the Pallid Pit was standard for death cultists." "Not that," Nika pointed out. "You saw at the pit. Those cultists of the Destroyer were normally pretty weak and pathetic, but these guys were highly trained and had the kit to almost kill us. Had it not been for the potions and us going all out, we would have died there. We pissed off something big." "Malakil?" Jack asked. "It would explain the robotics and cyber shit." "Possibly," Nika noted. "Though Devil's Daughter has said their relay was taken out and they wouldn't be able to operate here for now. At least we didn't get the assuming manual avatar control crap this time." "I think for me, the most disturbing thing was who sent us there in the first place," Jack whispered, after taking another deep sip. "We were fully convinced and played for fools by someone looking exactly like that poor man. It was deliberate, and that's terrifying." "Yeah," the Kizzen nodded in agreement, a look of worry to match Jack's. "I asked around. None of the others here knows what we could have encountered. The only thing we can hope for is that Chio can detect them using that goo we recovered, but that's a long shot." "Well, at least the rest of the night went well," Jack replied, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Fucking corpse," Nika agreed with a snort. "Like we told you before, most are benign, but a foul few are not. All they need to do is stir the pot and the city goes to shit while they jostle for power. Had they not been fucking around, we wouldn't have had to dip for the shit parts of town just to get home, and now that nutjob the Redeemer is after you." "He was after me anyway. All that's changed is he's more pissed off than he was before. At least I got a scenic tour of the city," Jack quipped with a cheeky smile, causing Nika to lighten up and chuckle slightly. "And a joyride on a murder truck." "Maybe we should get you a few lessons before you try that again," the Kizzen grinned, playfully poking him in the side. "Yeah," Jack sighed, as a particularly cheery, happy-clappy song came on and killed the mood. "Gosh, that sounds cringe. Let's take this outside." Nika indicated the kitchen door, and grabbed a few more beers from the fridge with her tail, noting they were running low. "You know, it's funny," Jack said, after a few moments of sitting on the grass. "I'm pretty sure both of us promised Alora to try and not talk about this kind of stuff." "Yeah," Nika agreed with a laugh. "You can trust Alora to be the team mother." That reminded Jack of something, and he was happy to try and steer the conversation elsewhere. "Speaking of," he began, "I don't think you've ever mentioned how you ended up living here. It's hard to believe we've only actually known each other for a few weeks." "I know what you mean," Nika nodded with a grin. "That day when you and Alora walked in on me and Scifi having a pillow fight feels like a lifetime ago. But don't forget that we've been through a lot together despite the time, and that fire forges deep friendships pretty quickly. It's kind of how we all originally came together, to be honest. Scifi and I became friends trying to survive in the city, until a couple of years ago when Alora brought us all together for a job." Something dangerous? Why am I not surprised? Jack snorted in amusement. Ha! Scifi and I were definitely surprised back then when the seemingly prim and proper class representative wanted us to help her and Chio rob one of the megacorps. Nika grinned, shaking with excitement at being the one to tell Jack the story. We were classmates then too, but we didn't know each other that well. But when the job went really well and we all saw how well we worked together, Laura had already invited us to live with them and we became true friends since. Scifi still thinks it was also partly because both of us were handy at fixing things, but neither of us complained and we moved straight in. Why did Laura even want to rob them? Jack asked curiously. Isn't Scifi normally the one to propose jobs? Scifi likes the excitement and riches from getting up to this kind of stuff, but all of us have our reasons, Nika shrugged. I'm pretty sure Laura wanted access to some historical records concerning her family, but the archivist in charge tried to coerce sexual favours from her and refused her access unless she went with it. Needless to say, that didn't happen, and they ended up getting heavily punished for it when we robbed them clean. As for me, though, sure, I have kin on the ring, but they're remote and I haven't spoken to them in years, Nika shrugged. There's nothing there for me. As far as I'm concerned, my family's here. Jack could see in her body language that it was a sore subject for the Kizzen, so he didn't pry any further. He knew that Alora was an exile, and Scifi was an orphan, so the lack of parents or guardians should have tipped him off. Was this normal on the ring? Oh, stop looking so awkward. Nika playfully pushed him. You were bound to ask me some personal questions at some point, right? Best to be direct with these kinds of things. Hey, it's alright if you don't want to talk about it. My clan ran a ranch in a very rural part of the ring. I grew up there as part of a big family, and while some of the adults tried, my older siblings and cousins were often recruited into parenting us. Nika sighed, staring ahead into the night sky. One day I saw the opportunity to hitch a ride on a shuttle to the city to live a better life and took it. Ghosted the lot of them and never looked back. Haven't heard anything since, and I'm cool with it. Damn. I'm sorry to hear you had to put up with that, Jack replied sympathetically, not really knowing what else he could say to that. It's all good, the Kizzen shrugged nonchalantly. It's in the past, and it led me on the path to learn to fight and get an education. As far as I'm concerned, I became the best version of myself by leaving. Besides, someone has to keep you lot alive. She grinned as she playfully poked him in the side, only for Jack to playfully poke back, tickling her. Oh, it's on now, the Kizzen exclaimed, as she dove at Jack, knocking him over with a laugh as she tried to pin him. Oh, no you don't, Jack grinned back, as he managed to get 2 fingers under the Kizzen's armpit, causing her to squirm away, allowing him to reverse the pin with him on top, though with a yell felt Nika's tail wrap around his legs, holding them together as the tip went to work on his stomach. No, Jack laughed, as the Kizzen wrapped her legs around his waist, making it difficult for him to dislodge himself as Nika tried in vain to hold his arms, rolling them both along the grass as they both jockeyed for dominance. You're not winning. Yes, Nika gasped as they finally stopped with the Kizzen on top. Yes, I am. She looked down to Jack, excitement plastered on her face, until she saw his head turned with a look of horror. Oh, don't mind us, Scifi grinned, taking a video with her comlink as a few other pairs of eyes looked on. The film's over. Want to pick another, or shall we all join you instead? It looks like you're having fun. Everyone did both, as it turned out. One of the residents had gotten the idea to stay outside and show the next movie, some kind of adventure film that reminded Jack of the Indiana Jones trilogy, on a projector against one of the district walls, with a set of portable speakers Scifi brought from her loot room. Everybody had clustered into various groups, sitting or lying down on the grass as they watched. Jack, Nika, Scifi, Alora and Chio were sat next to the projector, far enough away from the others to not be overheard, while Dante happily padded between the various groups, reveling in the attention everyone gave him. Doesn't look like we've received any proper job requests, but if we get bored we can always check them out. Some of these just look like basic good deeds, Scifi shrugged. At least our DataNet page is getting some traction, I suppose. What kind of jobs? Jack asked curiously. Latest updates haven't come through. We had a few troll messages and some idiots thinking we were customer support, but... Scifi began, thumbing through the messages. One man wants us to deliver flowers to a waitress at a pizza shop. A woman wants us to remove graffiti from a wall near her shop. Crap jobs no self-respecting group of our ability would want to take, Nika pointed out. Nowhere near worth the time and resources needed to do them. Yeah, those sound boring, but at least they sound safer than going to the shitty parts of the city, Jack shrugged. Maybe some of the others will do them. Every little bit helps, right? And if they can give us 5-star reviews or whatever, it could lead to better jobs? That's not a bad idea, Jack, Tshirt pointed out, but I wouldn't recommend it in the current hostile climate. I suspect we will have more luck contacting the people we know to see if they have anything suited for our group. There is no rush, Allura cautioned. We are sitting here, enjoying a movie, and I have no intention of changing that in the slightest. We still need to properly rest from last night. Yeah, Scifi agreed. Another one we got about an hour ago is an old lady who needs help moving a fridge. I almost feel bad about that one. At least most of these look cut and pasted, so there's probably some more local groups that can help her. Or just ask a neighbour for help. Well, if the jobs won't come to us, we can always make plans of our own, Tshirt reasoned. The current conflicts create opportunity. You want us to go on a run, Chio? Scifi asked with an excited grin. Yes? Yes, yes, yes! That is not what I said, Scifi. Chio gave the Skritter a mock, unamused look. A potential heist at most. Maybe. But only if we don't get any jobs or if the opportunity is too good to ignore. If there's a warehouse or a set of offices that have either been abandoned or changed hands due to a takeover, there may be a window of opportunity for us. Keep an eye on the news then. Allura nodded in agreement with Chio. Though I prefer a job where we don't have to do as much legwork. Speaking of, we've just had one new one come through with the latest update, Scifi told them, as she read the message. Good evening. My wife and I are an older couple that read in the local news about a young, heroic outsider that fought well against the clowns during their recent attack, and we wish to meet him. I would like to watch with your beautiful companions over a few drinks while the outsider and my wife... What? Ew. Ew! By the gods, Scifi! Allura gasped on catching a glimpse. Can you please add a filter so we don't get any more requests like that? Let's not turn it down out of hand, Nika laughed, holding back tears as she took a look. How much are the frisky couple offering? I'm suddenly much more open to the idea of a shadow run or any other similarly dangerous tasks, Jack quipped, on seeing the picture the elderly couple of multi-tentacle squid-like beings has sent them. I don't think I make a very good prostitute. Perhaps Scifi can have a few datanet scans running overnight, Chio suggested, to which Scifi nodded, as she immediately began typing. Sure, just let me know what keywords you want to add and I'll take a look, Scifi shrugged. But apart from that, what are we doing tomorrow? I'm going to set up a deathball game in one of the nearby fields and invite any of our friends that want to come, Nika grinned. Since you, Chio and Allura have all come up with things for us to do, it's up to me and Jack to step up. Sports, Nika? Chio asked, unamused. Why not? Jack asked. You were happy to do Allura's yoga thingy. Yoga? You mean the regale? Allura asked Jack, who nodded to confirm upon being reminded, remembering from where they did it that it was a cultural thing for the Eladri people. Relax, Nika told them all. I'm going to turn it down for the wimps. It's not like we're going to run our own version of Hellring. Hellring? Jack asked, unamused with his eyebrows raised. Really? Deathball is one thing, but you also have a sport called Hellring? Why am I not surprised? Let's not get into that right now. Allura gave a pained smile, turning to Jack. Sorry, Jack, but you're going to have to trust me here. Hellring isn't exactly a sport in the way Deathball is. And believe me when I say it really isn't a pleasant subject. Sorry, Allura, you're right. Nika nodded apologetically. Maybe instead you can show us a few of your human sports, Jack. There might be some overlap in how to play them, but it could be fun. Sure, Jack grinned, though at the back of his mind only got more curious about Hellring. Probably some kind of blood sport, and a bad one considering even the locals seem to find it abhorrent. Football is easy enough to grasp since it's just moving a ball using only your feet, though I never really supported a team back home and I don't know anything about the offside rule. It's probably the safest one I can think of. The rest involve bats, sticks, or charging into each other like maniacs. Ooh, I like the sound of those, Nika perked up. Tell us about the ones with bats. It's not what you think, Jack chuckled. There's a few ones that involve having a ball thrown at you at speed, and you use the bat to hit the ball as far away as you can. What happens next depends on the game, but it usually involves a lot of running. The team that bats has to run a distance. The team that throws has to stop them somehow. That sounds quite anticlimactic, Tshirt pointed out, trying not to sound too interested in the human sports, and failing. Do they not use the bats in combat at all? Afraid not, Jack grinned, before remembering something. Oh, you're like ice hockey. We didn't really have it in my country, but I'm pretty sure they got into a lot of fights. Why ice? Scifi asked, having been prompted by the talk of ice hockey to grab another ice-cold soda out of the cooler they had brought with them. The scritter was looking as confused as the rest of the girls, wondering what the ice aspect of the sport could be. So normal hockey has two teams with sticks that have to use them to whack a ball into the opponent's goal, Jack explained as simply as he could. Now replace the floor with slippery ice, give the players shoes with blades on the bottom they use to slide across said ice, and encourage the players to get into fights with the other team whenever possible, and you basically have ice hockey. Cool, Nika explained, eyes wide. I have so got to try that shit. We have some other violent games as well, however they're not exactly mainstream or considered traditional sports, but they are a part of the history of my country and I've always wanted to try them ever since I first heard of them. Jack smiled on seeing Nika's enthusiasm, and was eager to tell her. The Atherstone ball game has been going on for centuries, and is basically an all-out melee fighting for a ball where there aren't any rules, except for not being allowed to kill anyone. And then there's a really insane one called cheese rolling. I'm sorry, did you say cheese rolling? Tshirt asked curiously, unsure if she heard Jack correctly. Now you're just joking, Allura scoffed. But Jack shook his head emphatically. Nope, it's a real thing, he cackled, more than happy to give the girls a taste of craziness from Earth, after everything he'd seen here. A bunch of people get to the top of a really steep hill, then a big wheel of cheese is rolled down, and everyone races downhill to either catch it, or be the first one to cross the finishing line at the bottom of the hill. He held out his hand to the girls at a steep angle to represent the hill he saw on TV, and burst out laughing when he saw their shocked faces. That's dangerous, Tshirt proclaimed. All for a wheel of cheese? How many people died? I'm pretty sure nobody died at either of them from what I can recall, Jack smirked, though you get a lot of injuries and you have a bunch of medics on standby. I think I saw on the news that a woman won one of the races while she was unconscious and only found out when she woke up in hospital. I'm surprised she woke up at all, Allura gasped. Well, there are volunteers to catch anyone struggling, Jack shrugged. And that's just my country. There are others as well, like the bull run in Spain where a bunch of angry bulls are let loose to chase people through city streets. What's a bull? Tshirt asked. Jack thought for a moment, then pointed at Dante. Imagine an animal several times the size of Dante, but much more muscular and with two sharp horns. You weren't with us when we went to feed some of the animals at the animal sanctuary, but they were about the size of the biggest ones there. Oh crap, Scifi gasped with amusement. I'm guessing that's a recipe for disaster. Yep, Jack nodded. I'm pretty sure people have actually died during this one, usually getting gored by the horns. And to think you were acting like a fish out of water, Nika grinned, borrowing an expression Jack had used a few times before. Deep down, you humans are just like us. Maybe, Jack admitted with a nod. I guess that's partly why I finally just went with the whole death ball thing. It's dangerous, but it gave me a hell of a rush when we did it. Are you sure it's not because you ended up getting handsy with Luvia? Tshirt teased all of them with a mischievous smile, as several awkward looks were exchanged. Hey, I didn't realize we'd be facing Luvia when I signed up, Jack snorted in amusement. Yeah. If you're so worried about Jack getting manhandled, maybe you should join the team and cover his ass. Nika smirked. No way. I'm not joining your team. Chio shook her head vehemently. Suddenly, Scifi's comlink started chirping, and she checked the name of the caller with a confused look. Quickly, the scritter excused herself to slip back into the house in order to answer it without being overheard by everyone else. 5 minutes later, Scifi came back with a conflicted look on her face. What's up? Nika asked, as the scritter sat down. We've got a possible job with a time limit of a few days. Scifi didn't look too happy about that for some reason, which set them all on edge. Okay? Allura nodded, unsure what was wrong. What's the catch? That's the thing, Scifi sighed. It was Gorilla that called me. That was the slicer that sold us out to House Malkar during the Pallet Pit run, right? Chew asked to confirm, and Scifi nodded. Fuck that, Jack exclaimed, and Nika nodded her head in agreement. The timing of this, I know. Scifi held up her hands placatingly, and normally I'd tell him to fuck off. What did he tell you? Chio asked curiously. He says he knows we've been looking for leads on fabricators, and he knows the location of 3 lesser ones. He gave me enough evidence to prove he's not lying. What? Nika gasped. Shit. I'd normally say no to working with this guy ever again, but the opportunity to get ourselves a fabricator is too good to ignore. This sounds like another trap in the making, Jack warned. He's betrayed us before, and after last night? What is he asking in return for the information, Scifi? Allura asked slowly, holding a hand out to calm everyone down. He wants at least one fabricator for himself, and is willing to directly work with us to a mutually beneficial goal, Scifi replied. However, he wants us to run another job first to build trust and perform a public service. Time limit of a few days. Is he just saying that to get us to do the first job for him? Nika asked. Then he can just ghost us, right? Even if he does, I think this might be worth it. Even though we know you dislike wet work, Allura, Scifi retorted. He wants us to raid another slicer that's been running a scamming operation. Apparently they've been targeting elderly victims that have family members involved in the latest conflicts. Most of these families are probably alive and well, realistically, but in the heat of the moment, the victims don't know that. The main slicer confirmed to be part of the operation has got a bounty on him, wanted dead. The Church of Tyrus in particular wants their scamming records, and is willing to pay a bonus for that. So even if Gorilla is just using us, we can still get a payday. Don't forget that I have a lot of dirt on Gorilla, and I think this time he may be giving it to us straight. However, obviously I've been wrong before, so... I trust you, Jack spoke up. Even if I don't trust this arsehole. Agreed, Allura added. We will need to work out the details, but I don't want to do that right now. Yeah, Jack grinned. The night is still young.